What's up, everyone? You're listening to the Vegas Bumboy Show, episode number 2, 685 Days to Vegas. Oh, shit! All right, coming up on today's show, Chris from Faces and Aces drops in to tell me all about how he used to be a card counter, amongst other things. And I'm also going to debut a couple of segments which I'll hope to do more often than not on the show. Number 1 is the Vegas Bumboy Top 5, where this week we'll take a look at the 5 best cocktails that I've had in the city. And finally, gambling around the world this week takes me to Prague. Stick around if you want to hear about how I got my ass kicked by a monstrous Polish dealer named Jakob. Anyway, my name's Chris. Let's get this going. Welcome to the show. If you're here because you enjoyed episode 1, thanks so much for coming back. But I fear I need to be honest with you. We're not going to get to the dizzy heights that we reached in episode 1 ever again. Or at least maybe not until episode 10, when I can be bothered to write another trip report from one of my previous excursions. Before, however, we get into the meat of today's show, I'd really like to send out my heartfelt thanks to a number of people. Firstly, anyone who's taken the time to message me on Twitter to say how much they enjoyed show 1 and to keep it up. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and if any of you out there have got any ideas, anything you want to hear, drop me a note and we'll see what we can do. Secondly, I really need to thank the guys at You Can Bet On That, Vital Vegas, Faces and Aces, Vegas Fanboy, Vegas Confessions, and Zorkcast for mentioning this show either on their own shows or via social media. It is super fucking appreciated. Without your kind gesture, I seriously doubt my own Twitter-based hype train would have got me listeners downloading it in their millions. Of course not. Of course it wasn't millions. But it was more than 2, and if you remember last time, I said I'd do a second one if I got more than 2 downloads. So thank you very much to the guy in California, the 2 guys in Nevada, and that one girl in Sweden. On the subject of other Vegas podcasts, if you heard me on Faces and Aces with Chris last week, then your cross-pollinating podcast dreams will be coming true for a second time, as we're about to delve into 10 questions with Chris from Faces and Aces Las Vegas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions! Question number 1. What was the first hotel you stayed in Vegas?
It may have been Imperial Palace.
That predates my visits to Vegas, that one.
It is now the Link. It was the Quad, and then now it is the Link.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And it was Imperial Palace when they had a little front room and then a small street where the valet parking was, and then you cross that street and then you get into the casino. And it was a rundown Asian-themed casino.
You know what? I might have been there. Did they have the dealatainers there?
Yes.
Yeah,
that is the place.
Yeah, no, I have been there. That doesn't predate me. It was Bill's that predates me. That's what I was thinking of. Because they're not too far apart, are they, on the east side of the strip?
No, not too far at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
See, yeah. Again, my knowledge is letting me down. I think I've definitely lost money to Ricky Martin and Michael Jackson. That was fun.
I wish I could remember which dealatainers I played with. It was kind of a novel idea, but mostly back then I was way into gambling.
So how long ago was that? Or is that going to show your age?
Oh, this must have been the early 90s. Well, mid-90s, around mid-90s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I was 10.
As was I. I just looked very old and I had a really good fake ID.
Excellent. So you've been going for a long time now then, huh?
Yeah.
Must have stayed in a ton of hotels. What's your favorite hotel?
For a solo trip, I prefer Planet Hollywood. For a trip with my wife, I enjoy Aria.
I'd go down a similar route, you know. If I was staying there on my own, you don't want to pay top notch. You're not that bothered about what's in the room. You just need somewhere to sleep, but Planet Hollywood's a decent location.
It's a good location, although for the last year, I've been getting free rooms at the Link. And so pretty much this year, 2017, I've exclusively stayed at the Link. And it's a little bit not as nice as I would like, but the location is great. And I love the promenade, the Link promenade.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. I've only been there once since it opened properly, but we spent a couple of evenings there last year. Is it Yardbird down there?
Yard House.
Yard House. Yeah, Yardbird is a place in Vegas, though, isn't it? I'm sure that's a
Yardbird.
restaurant in the Venetian or something.
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
You know what? Someone will be shouting at their phone when they're listening to this. Um, yeah,
Oh,
Yard.
I make
Yard
no
House. Awesome.
no claim. Yeah, I make no claim to be a Vegas expert. I'm a Vegas enthusiast.
Yes,
I
me
enjoy
too.
it a lot, and
Me
I
too,
listen to
me too.
I listen to other people's podcasts who are the experts.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be any more experts knocking about.
Yeah,
So, what's your game of choice?
all blackjack.
Yeah,
Yeah, hands down. Yeah,
has that been the whole time?
the whole time. Yeah, it's just an easy game. It's I was going to make an inappropriate joke, but what the hell? Why not? I can make it. I'm Asian, so I'm good at math.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And I did for a while kind of dabble with counting of cards, but after about a year of experimenting and I didn't necessarily come out ahead, I abandoned the whole idea and just embraced blackjack for entertainment and
Wow,
fun,
okay.
and that's all.
Okay, now we found something interesting to talk about. What made you decide you wanted to try and count cards?
Well, I mean, I had watched a few videos and it was fairly simple to do. And I would by no means call myself a card counter, and I would have a rough idea of where the count was at and how favorable the deck was. And I would try to play at a local casino here in California, and I would go out there a couple times a month. And it's a good hour and a half drive to get there.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm spending money on gas. I'm spending time, 3 hours on the road every weekend or every other weekend. And at the end of the year, I was keeping tabs on how much would I be up or down, and it turned out I broke exactly even, and I decided this isn't really worth my time. I gave it a go, and I would prefer to just sit and have casual conversations and have drinks and be able to leave the table whenever, and I just didn't like the restrictions. And I know there are people who do it professionally, who do it well, who are really into advantage play. I just didn't find it appealing. I had a guest on the show who talked about where he did that for a summer, and blackjack turned into a job for him, and I knew exactly what he meant. There was no enjoyment in it. It was kind of a grind. I just kind of I understood when he described that to me. I understood exactly what he meant. And so, yeah, it was for that reason I just decided, I'm just going to have fun with it. I want to occasionally, if someone's at the table not playing properly, maybe I'll split tens just for shits and giggles. If it's a low hand, or I just want to be able to have fun, and I know that sounds ludicrous to some, but I don't want it to become a job. I want it to still be fun.
Right. You've absolutely got to do what you want to do. Apparently, it doesn't affect anybody else on the table. So in the long run, that was something I really used to struggle with when I first started playing blackjack, and I wasn't really aware of basic strategy or any type of approach to the game. Blissful ignorance, really enjoyed it. And then the minute I found out that basic strategy existed and I did a little bit of reading up on it and practiced it a little bit, I became an absolute, if somebody hit on a 12 when the dealer had a 6, I'd feel like I wanted to leave the table. And I had to really kind of work on myself to dig myself out of that ridiculous hole, because I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. I spent my whole time worrying about what everybody else would cost me, which is pathetic when you think about it.
Yeah, those are the little things that take the enjoyment away from the game. If someone who's playing at third base takes a card when they shouldn't have, and then as the new hand gets dealt, and you're counting it backwards to see what it would have been had that person played it right, and you're mad, and that's not an enjoyable experience.
That is the one. That is the exact scenario.
That lessens the fun.
Yeah, if he'd have done that, and then that would have been mine. And then the dealer would have had the 6. And, oh, fuck!
And of course, there's always courtesy. I will ask people who do, because not everyone subscribes to that philosophy. And so if there is a 2 against a 6, technically one person should take a card. Someone should. And so if it's a 2 against a 6, I will look down at the table and say, I know someone's supposed to. I'll take it if nobody else wants to. And some people are grateful. Like someone else with a 2 would be like, thank God, I don't want to do it. So I'll take the card. It's
Yeah.
just communicating. And I think the important thing about blackjack is to remember everybody sitting on your side of the table. You're a team. You really should play together
Yeah.
for the most fun and for the if you believe the numbers, for the benefit of the table.
Yeah.
And again, the dealer is not, it works for the house, but wants to give away the money because then they'll get tipped better.
Yeah, which is another interesting thing about English casinos. No tipping anywhere, really. None.
Wow.
I'll go and play an evening at the craps table, and I'll be the only one who tips the dealers for the entire evening.
Wow.
Which is, yeah, that's a good habit that I picked up being in Vegas. Which I guess shows you that a lot of people who are playing in England aren't familiar with how it's done over there. It's not really a big tipping culture over here anyway, so it's not a big deal. But they can't be earning much as dealers in the middle of London.
But are they grateful? Do they treat you better?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. In fact, I'd made one bet for them last week. I put it on a hard eight. It was the only hard eight I put on all night, and then I threw a hard eight immediately. So I just thought that's me done. I'm not doing anything else anymore.
Yeah, nice.
All right, question 4 in this quickfire round: biggest winning session. And what I mean by that is you sat down at a table, and then you got up at a table. Not a whole day of flitting around casinos, but just one session.
Probably about somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000 playing a
wonderful.
25. Actually, it wasn't even a 25 table. I believe it was either a $10 or $15 table, but I was playing nickels and I'm not nickels. I was playing quarters and 50s and bumping it up to 100. And it was one of those magic shoes where I during the shuffle, and this is back in the day before the card shuffling machines, where the dealers would have to shuffle a 6-deck shoe, and it would take a good 5 to 7 minutes, and I could get up to where my friends were sitting there playing video poker and slots, and I could walk over to there, and I was fairly inebriated, and I said, I can't lose. I have not lost. I was just bragging about how well I did. And it was just a great trip. And I don't remember if it was Planet Hollywood or the Palms. It may have been the Palms, but it was just one of those amazing shoes, which I gave a lot of it back at Planet Hollywood and immediately moved my card to the next level status based on how much I lost. But yeah, it was a pretty good run.
Amazing. I don't go often enough to have big wins. I don't think. If I gambled more, then they might come about. But I bought in for £200 earlier in the summer at a Grosvenor casino, which I never normally go to. But there's one in Brighton, where I live, and we've been out for work drinks, and I was a bit inebriated, and I didn't have to get home, so I just thought, I'm going to go and play some blackjack. I just feel like playing some blackjack, and there was a free bet table, which again is something I'd only ever seen in Vegas. I've never seen it over here, so I thought I'll have a go at that, and it just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and about 2 hours later, there's £3,000 there, and I'm done. I'll go home, just grab a taxi and leave, and the paranoia begins as well when you start getting wads of £50 notes to put in your pocket.
Yeah.
Because I never walk around carrying that sort of money.
Yeah.
So I just straight outside, call a cab, get in that cab and get straight home. And of course, no one knows it's there, but you think they do. So in fact, that's what paid for the trip to Spain that I've just been on with my wife and daughter. So I was enjoying some lovely pina coladas in the sun, tweeting about hot dogs for free, care of my love of gambling my own money. So yeah, that was wonderful.
Which brings up an excellent point. When are we going to get to hot dogs? I was sold a bill of goods that this show was going to be about Vegas hot dogs, and you have yet to talk about it.
Mate, that's question 10. We'll get there. Don't worry.
Because I've prepared copious notes. Like, I got 10 pages here of hot dogs in Vegas, so I'm ready whenever you are.
I love to think that you've just got a stack of papers there ready to rustle it for that joke.
It's the notepad that I keep here on my desk.
Okay, we'll get. You know what? The answer to this next question could be, indeed, hot dog related. Best meal you've had in Vegas?
The best meal that I had in Vegas, I would have to say it was at the SW Steakhouse. I'm a big fan of steak, and I
Me
will
too.
often, when asked, people will say, "What is your favorite steak in Vegas?" I'll say the Gallagher's over at New York, New York.
Oh
But
yeah.
if you qualify best meal, I would say the steak at SW.
Okay. Where is that exactly?
It's at the Wynn.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Steve Wynn Steakhouse,
Okay. Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
yeah, and it's fantastic, especially if you can get that little outside table out by the fountain. And my friend and former co-host of the show, Aaron, turned me onto it. We shared a meal there once, and it was phenomenal. And I had been bragging so often about the other place, Gallagher's, and he said, "Son, you don't know what you're talking about. Let's go here." And he took me there. I'm like, "Okay, I've learned something."
Is that that's right next to Parasol Down, isn't it? The bar by the Lake of Dreams. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
We did.
downstairs.
Yeah, we tried to go in there last year. Just walked up to get a table, and obviously we didn't get one. So I'll have to try that again next time.
Make a reservation or go weekday is often it's easily accessible. I don't know if they do bar seating there, but that is one trick that I learned on my last trip. Bar seating is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I've heard this. I've never taken it up because we've always been in groups. You know, last time I was out there, the first time we went out there, we went to Gordon Ramsay's steak at Paris, and I'm a fan of his anyway. I know he divides the audience, but I'm definitely a fan of his. Probably because
Oh, me too.
Been on my TV for my entire life, and I enjoy my food. So
Yeah.
when we had a chance to go out there and go check out his restaurant, we took it and we had a fantastic time. And the theatre of the cuts of meat that are available on the night being brought over to your table on a trolley with mirrors so you can see them lying flat and see how thick they are, but you can also see the marbling on the top in the mirrors. That's quite a nice little bit of theatre. And it was just stunning. It was just absolutely stunning. And a steak is a really simple thing, but it's a very, very easy thing to get wrong. So yeah, I'm going to have to pluck for that. But I haven't had a stupid amount of meals in Vegas because I haven't been there that often. So you know, my opinion might change over time. I was going to take my buddy there last year once our wives had gone home because we stayed out for an extra couple of days, which is absolute dreamland when you live this far away. We went to the Miracle Mile shops and we went to the Blondie Sports Bar in there opposite the little theatre. And they had all you can drink well drinks for $25. And we were there for 2 hours waiting for our table, waiting for the table at steak. And Lee did not make it. He had to go back to our room at the Bellagio. And I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to go and eat at this place on my own. But I should have just gone and sat at the bar. What a waste. What a waste. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll know for next time. All
And
right.
if you're the type of person to talk to people, there's always someone to chat with. Not just for a short time.
No, I really am, and that that's probably a big regret now that. So thanks for that. Cheers for bringing that one on me.
Yeah.
Question 6, and we're halfway there. All right, 10 questions. This is strip or downtown.
Oh, that's a hard question. Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer. Here I'm struggling with it. It depends on what you're looking for, and I do enjoy hanging out in downtown just because it's a little bit more of a bohemian vibe during the day, and the gaming is more favorable at night. If you were to ask me the same question 5-10 years ago, it would be strip hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm at that phase in my life, in my Vegas life, I suppose, where just the sheer magnitude of the place and the sheer novelty of the place, I still look at downtown as just, one strip resort, essentially. Because, Fremont Street is smaller than a lot of the resorts on the strip, isn't it? So it's, that's how I view it at the moment. I've had some amazing nights down there. I've still not been to Fremont East, although we have ventured a little bit off the Fremont experience and tried like Pizza Rock, which is excellent, and a few other small places. But I definitely need to get my teeth into downtown more. And from what I hear on all the other podcasts, it's the fun place to be.
It's where the locals will go to. The locals very rarely go to the Strip. Yeah, like I was saying before, the difference is they've cleaned it up. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that used to be the place we thought it would be kind of a hoot to go down there and check it out. I was there with my wife and a couple of friends, and we hadn't been downtown for such a long time. We heard they had just put up this big canopy over Fremont Street, and we said, oh, let's go see what that's like. And we went there, and it was still this sad, dingy, old. Imagine the vibe in the El Cortez throughout the whole Fremont Street area. It was just full of just sad, depressing people. And we said, this isn't for us. And I hadn't gone back there up until about 3 years ago. And when they started putting money and restaurants and fun into downtown. And now it's a great time. It's a fun time. I've described it as, it's kind of like on the weekends, it's Mardi Gras, what they'll enjoy for a week in New Orleans. It's every weekend down there in Vegas. So if you like that Mardi Gras vibe, it's for you.
All right, we're getting silly now. Elton John or Celine Dion?
I think I would see Elton John.
Why?
Because Elton goes back to the 70s and has a lot of great, fun rockin' songs, as well as he's more likely to call it quits. Whereas Celine, I could see her singing for another 20 years. Yeah.
There's no wrong answer to the questions I've asked you up to this one, but I think there's a wrong answer to this question. I think the wrong answer is Celine Dion.
That was a trick question, I see. Can I go with the American answer and say Donnie and Marie?
Ooh. that is a little bit too kitsch for Brits, I'm afraid.
I've never seen it. I probably never will.
I was in Flamingo. The first time I was in Flamingo was just after Donnie and Marie kicked out. So I guess 10:30 at night, and the show ended, and we were stood there, and the place was empty. And then 2 seconds later, it was just middle-aged women with fanny packs and white t-shirts and leggings, just everywhere for as far as that I could see. And we had no idea why until later on we saw the massive Osmond face on the side of the building. So.
Now, in the vein of those artists that get the residencies, what would be the dream artist that you would like to see, say if they were to take up a 6-month residency in Vegas?
Man.
Artist or band?
You know what? Last year we went out and I think we came back 3 days before Lionel Richie started. It wouldn't be Lionel Richie, but of everybody that's had residency since we've been interested in going, that would have been top-notch by miles. Dead or alive or just alive?
Oh, I thought your answer was dead or alive. He just sings Spin Me Right Round 10 times.
Some really obscure... Well, you know what? Pete Burns isn't doing any shows anymore, is he? So,
is he not?
No, he's dead. He died, unfortunately.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, yeah. Oh. Yeah, last year, maybe the year before.
Now don't I feel like a jerk.
And so you should. You give me the option to say dead, and I'll pick Frank Sinatra all day long, or Johnny Cash. Ooh, shit.
I think you have to go alive.
Yeah, which doesn't leave me with much.
Yeah, because if we go dead, we'll just bring back the whole Rat Pack.
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it, to see that? Question 8 is Cirque du Soleil, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, I am a firm no.
A firm no.
Yeah, I've only seen one. I saw Love. It was the day after. It was the second night that I've ever been in Vegas, and I was so jet lagged that the minute they got to the sort of trippy 70s Beatles, I was done and I was asleep.
Oh no, you missed a great show.
Yeah, well, I didn't miss much of it, but I definitely wasn't in the best place to actually watch it.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a good one. That's actually the one Cirque show that I've seen, but wanting to see more. I just haven't gotten around to which I hear is fantastic. Yeah.
Question number 9. Chris Angel or any other magician?
I would... Oh, boy, you're asking me difficult questions, and perhaps they should be very easy to answer. I know they're supposed to be lightning round. The populist answer would say any other magician.
Absolutely right.
However, just to go against the grain, I'll go Chris Angel.
Yes. Have you seen it?
I have not. I have wanted to.
Yeah.
I have wanted to. I watched his TV show.
I love magicians. I love them.
Me too.
I can't get behind that guy.
I like that he changed the face of magic. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I remember watching his Mind Freak show, and it wasn't like anything that I've ever seen before in terms of magic, And I like the idea that he kind of broke open that magic doesn't have to be David Copperfield or Doug Henning before him or Houdini before him. Like the top, it evolves, and he took it to the next evolution, and people enjoyed that, and then they started mocking him because, he is a douchebag, sure, but he's a very talented douchebag.
Yes, absolutely.
So I won't knock him the way that other people would.
No, I like that. You've got integrity. I have no integrity, so we can draw on that one as well.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's the question you were waiting for, and I think I know what your answer is going to be actually, based on what we were talking about a few weeks ago. Yeah. But what is the best hot dog you have ever had in Vegas? Hooray! We want hot dogs.
Shafini's at Container Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're good sized hot dogs. One you could, if you're not a big eater, you could share. But I could enjoy one, and that's a great meal all in itself.
Good to me.
Yeah, it's a great dog. 100%
me.
beef. Interesting toppings. One of them they have crushed up potato chips on top, and it's the best hot dog that I've had. And I'm not a hot dog aficionado, but I've had a couple in Vegas. Most of them are just kind of something to fill your belly till you get to the next meal. You've just had a big gambling session. You run into what is the hot dog place at the D?
American Coney.
Yeah, Coney Island, American Coney, and whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places like that, like Nathan's, or just little tide me overs.
Mm-hmm.
Places that would sit well in a food court. This one is a good hot dog that could be its own restaurant, I think.
Right, final question before we call it a day. Heads or tails?
Heads.
Tails. 1-0 to me. Excellent. Right. So that's Chris 1, guests 0.
Yeah, where do I send the money?
No, there's no money. It's just for fun.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Well, I can't thank you enough for talking with me this evening.
I had a blast. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm a little shocked that you're having me on before Adam.
I've spoken to Adam. We're going to talk, hopefully.
Yeah, well, that guy's a complete jerk. He's going to be nothing but trouble for you.
Yeah.
I recommend a lot of drinking beforehand. If he asks to be paid, just tell him you're going to do it, but you don't really have to send him the money. Like, he's kind of gullible that way.
Okay, I thought it best to fade Chris out there. He spent another 20 minutes on this weird, maniacal tirade against Adam from Vegas Fanboy. Adam, mate, I don't know what Chris has got against you, but clearly there's some kind of vendetta there, and next time you're in Vegas, I'd be careful. I don't think Chris is angry at anybody else, though, so please feel free, if you don't know about him already, to check out his podcast, Faces and Aces Las Vegas. It's a great listen. I've managed to power through about 40 episodes in the last couple of months, which is absolute testament to how interesting and entertaining Faces and Aces Las Vegas really is. On a separate note, if anyone else out there is called Chris and wants to get in on this sweet Vegas Bumboy podcast style action, give me a shout, particularly if you're a doctor, because there are not enough doctors in Las Vegas-based podcasts. I digress. Let's get into the Vegas Bumboy Top 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, this is awkward. I've just realised that the two theme songs that I've chosen for the segment so far have been from Sesame Street and Thunderbirds, which I'm afraid means subconsciously I fucking love counting and I fucking love puppets. Okay, so now I've composed myself, let's get down to business. Let's start counting down this week's Vegas Bumboy Top 5. Top 5 cocktails. Right, firstly, I'm no expert on cocktails. My enjoyment of cocktails has so much to do with my surroundings and the overall experience, so these aren't solely based on the taste of the drinks themselves. I'm also no expert, and I err on the side of sweet and fruity, so Sazeracs, Negronis, they don't make the cut. In at number 5, the Verbena at Chandelier Bar in Cosmopolitan. I bet if you surveyed 100 people and asked them to name their favourite cocktail in Las Vegas, this cocktail would be the most common answer. It's quite a cult favourite from what I can see on the internet and hear on other podcasts, and for good reason. It's a fun and refreshing vodka-based ginger beer cocktail infused with lemon juice, kaffir lime leaves and ginger puree, topped with an aptly named Szechuan Buzz Button, which is the bud of the Acmella oleracea plant, whatever the fuck that is. The idea is that you chew the bud before you take the first sip of the drink, so its anesthetic qualities numb your taste buds and accentuate the drink's flavours to the point the cold, tingly, lemony, delicious explosion fills your mouth. The theatre and the experience is cool. Without it, the drink would be lost in amongst every other refreshing vodka-based cocktail. But the Buzz Button made my wife freak the fuck out at the bar, so for that hilarious memory alone, the Verbena makes the Bum Boy top 5. In at number 4, the All About Mary at the Todd English pub in the Crystal Shops at City Centre. That's Aria if you don't know where City Centre is, but you do. This monstrosity of a Bloody Mary is $35, which is expensive for Bloody Mary, but it comes with a free lunch on the side, so it's worthwhile expenditure. There has been a bit of a craze over the last 5 years for topping Bloody Marys with extra stuff, and Todd English's All About Mary is no exception. It comes with sliders, chicken wings, king prawns, mini corn dogs, salami, olives, various other delicious crap piled on top of it. On its own, the drink was delightfully savoury, with just enough salt and spice to tame any hangover. Add in a tasty little feast hat that sits on top of it, and you're onto a fucking winner. Skip brunch, order one of these bad boys, and you are done for the day. Climbing 25 places to number 3 is the Old Fashioned that I was served at Hyde in Bellagio. So we walked into Hyde about 10 p.m. It was busy, but it wasn't packed. They had a little wander around to find some seats, and just as we clocked that single solitary table that stretches out over the water, the current occupants were preparing to leave. Fucking jackpot! An old-fashioned is a staple drink of mine and relatively difficult to fuck up, so, the setting definitely weighs in on this drink, making it so high on the list. We managed 3 fountain shows up close and personal before we were booted off with some fella who was clearly more important than us, or, had more money than us. If you don't know what an old-fashioned is, then it's a short drink made from either bourbon or rye whiskey. Personally, I prefer bourbon old-fashions. Bitters, sugar and water garnished with orange peel or a slice of orange. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you get a maraschino cherry. Standing strong at number 2 is the Jacquemot Rose at the Rose Rabbit Lie restaurant in Cosmopolitan. I believe you can only buy this drink by the flask. A glass flask. A glass flip-top flask. A glass flip-top flask with a Rose Rabbit Lie logo on the side that you get to keep. The Jacquemot Rose is a fuck ton of apple brandy, topped with pomegranate nectar and a smattering of fresh citrus juice. The flasks are quite large and intended to be shared, although you could definitely drink a whole one on your own. We've now got 4 of these bottles hanging up in our kitchen full of the liquor that we drink on a weekly basis. They look sexy as shit. And this kind of freebie is a step up from the branded glass you might get from regular strip restaurants like Hard Rock Cafe or Planet Hollywood. Okay, drum roll please. Ba, 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 ba. Number 1 best cocktail that I have experienced in Las Vegas in my time is the plethora of Malibu and pineapples served to me at New York, New York. They were large, strong, cold, plentiful, and over the course of a Sunday morning's blackjack, exactly what I needed. And by the time my wife had come back from her morning by the pool, I was absolutely fucking hammered. And it was glorious. If you think it's a bit of a cop-out that my number 1 cocktail experience in Las Vegas was multiple well drinks, and you wanted me to be more specific in my reviews, then just for you, you meticulous motherfucker, I choose the 4th Malibu and pineapple that I had that morning. These delightful drinks get an extra 5 points for the guilt-free AM drinking. And if you cheeky clever clogs have been counting along, you'd realise we were done for the top 5 for this week. Until next time. And now, it's time for this.
Born in London in 84, a podcast named Vegas Bun Boy. He loves to talk, but he loves one thing more: gambling round the world.
And with that right there, I've jumped the shark. Anyway, feedback from the first show's trip report has been pretty strong, so while I still have a few more lengthy Vegas reports up my sleeve, their time will come. As a nice little aperitif, though, I can report on gambling trips across much of Europe, and as this show is as much about filling time before Vegas as it is about Vegas itself, it seems like as good a subject as any. This week we visit the beautiful old city of Prague in the Czech Republic, which is roughly 20 casinos, although it's certainly not famous for its gambling action. 13 of us had flown out for a good friend's stag weekend, which some of you may refer to as a bachelor party or a bucks night. And we planned to drink, gamble, and watch pretty ladies take their clothes off. We visited 2 casinos over the course of the weekend, the first of which was the Ambassador Casino, which is right slap bang in the middle of the famous Wenceslas Square. Probably the most famous casino in Prague. It's located in the Ambassador Hotel, which was built in 1920, so the casino is very elegantly dressed, with many chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and intricate mouldings on the walls, marble and mirrors everywhere. And the table felts are all beige, so there is a lack of bright colours. Think Bellagio on a smaller scale with fewer playing options. They had a few slot banks dotted here and there, and the few rows of table games were limited to roulette, which is single zero starting at €5, blackjack, which was all 3-2 payout starting at €10, Oasis Poker, Texas Hold'em, and Pontoon. The Pontoon table piqued my interest as I thought it was just another name for blackjack, so I wondered why both games would exist in the same room, and investigating further, I found that it was very similar, but a typical blackjack was paid a massive 2-1. Winning a hand with 5 cards dealt to you paid 3-2, and regular winning hands paid 1-1. These odds sound great until you realise you also lose on a push, and in the long run, the vast majority of your wins are going to be paid 1-1, so I guess it isn't such a great proposition after all. Being with a group of roulette players, I was on my own playing blackjack and had relatively little luck at the Ambassador. I also had a tiny bankroll and needed to make sure I had enough money to pay for the extracurricular activities we had planned that evening. The dealers were mostly friendly, and while I'd bounced around a break-even point for a few hours, I was killed by a tall, muscular Polish guy named Jakob. He was an extreme cooler. He was a winning hand terminating robot sent back through time by my wife to deter me from ever gambling again. The air literally got colder and the lights flickered when he arrived at the table. I doubled down on an 11 against a 6, end up with a 20, and Schwarzenegger would pull out a 37-card 21. The guy killed me dead. After our extracurricular activities that evening at a place called Goldfingers, we stumbled back to our hotel, which happened to be opposite Casino Banco, which is small but seemed very popular at 3 a.m. Again, more slots, blackjack and roulette. I don't remember anything more than that from this place though. I was hammered and had spent all my money on strippers for my friend whose impending wedding we were celebrating. That is my story and I'm sticking to it. Next time on Gambling Around the World, we'll be visiting Estonia, more specifically the capital city of Tallinn, and we'll be talking about feeding bears. Oh no, my friends, not regular bears, these are slot machine bears. Boo, slots.
Making bets and winning money and gambling round the world.
And with that, we're at the end of episode 2. There's a couple more things I want to add before we do end completely. I want to say thank you to Lucky45 for helping me get the show on Google Play. Many thanks to you, sir. And here's my quick trip report from Ocean's 14 XL visit to Vegas 2 weeks ago. I didn't go, obviously, did I? Of course I didn't go. My next trip to Vegas isn't for another 2 fucking years. I hope you had a great time. It looked like you had a great time from here on Twitter, where I sit alone, thinking about how long it is before I get to go back to Vegas. If you want to come keep me company, I'm at Vegas Bun Boy on Twitter. I have no other social media presence. You can check the podcast out on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, other things that zap sounds to places. That's it from me. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Cheers! This has been a Feed the Bears production. Rawr.